This morning, we are remembering some of the heroes of World War II on this day. 75 years ago, on this day, they were making their final preparations for the largest seaborne invasion in history. Think about that for a second. CBS News Radio reported from the front lines on D-Day. That network was responsible for much of the information that was relayed to Americans back home. Anthony Mason is at the Normandy American Cemetery and Memorial. Good morning to you again, Anthony.
Good morning again, Gayle. This is where that historic Allied invasion of Europe began on June 6, 1944. Americans learned about the critical operation on the radio when eyewitness accounts were beamed to them over the airwaves. It was a turning point in history. As Adolf Hitler's German war machine tightened its stranglehold on Europe, the fate of the continent and the outcome of the Second World War hinged on the success of one epic invasion.
This is Bob Trout speaking. We started this particular broadcast at 3 o'clock in the morning Eastern Wartime. Allied troops began landing on the northern coast of France this morning, strongly supported by naval and air forces.
More than 160,000 Allied troops, including 73,000 Americans, would take part in Operation Overlord on the beaches of Normandy.
The American people listened to every word that was coming to them from CBS Radio and Murrow and his team of correspondents, because everyone had such a vested interest in the war. Everyone had a loved one who was fighting in the war.
CBS newsman Edward R. Murrow, who broadcast from a rooftop in London during German bombings, on D-Day would read the words of encouragement from Allied Commander General Dwight D. Eisenhower.
I have full confidence in your courage, devotion to duty, and skill in battle. We will accept nothing less than full victory. Good luck.
CBS News Radio was on the front lines of the Allied invasion that day and inside the living room of the American public.
This is Charles Collingwood. We are on the beach today, on D-Day. We caught a ride in a small boat loaded with 1,000 pounds of TNT. Half a ton of high explosive on this beach, which is still under considerable enemy gunfire.
CBS News correspondent Charles Collingwood was embedded with Allied troops along a 50-mile stretch of French coastline.
These boys are apparently having a pretty tough time in here on the beaches. It's not very pleasant. It's exposed, and it must have been a rugged fight to get it. This place even smells like an invasion. It has a curious odor, which we always associate with modern war. It's a smell of oil and high explosive and burning things.
Everything they did was new. The American people received updates on the war live every night. That was the first time in history that the American people had been able to receive that type of immediacy from credible journalists who they could trust.
Then, as we turned in over the coast...
CBS News correspondent Richard C. Hottelet was one of those voices.
The flights ahead of us dropped their bombs. The guns on the ships offshore resumed fire. The bombs and the shells burst together on the target.
Hottelet, aboard an American bomber, witnessed the first wave of Allied forces invading Normandy, and the Germans trying to hold the line.
4,500 feet up, our plane was rocked by the concussion. We got the stench of the explosives. We dropped our bombs as scheduled. Just then we saw, down below on our left, dozens and scores of white streaks as the assault boats raced over the blue water to the beach, leaving their white wake stretched out behind them.
It took more than 2 months for the Allies to break out of Normandy following D-Day, liberating Paris on August 25th and securing victory over Germany by the spring of 1945. But D-Day came at a tremendous cost. 10,000 men were killed, wounded, or missing in action, including more than 6,600 Americans, many of whom are buried in the cemetery behind me. Gayle?
That's the other side of war, certainly. But Anthony, I keep thinking about one of the men you talked to, who his prayer was, I know someone has to die. I hope, if it's me, but if it isn't me, please let me go and not be maimed when I go back home. I still keep thinking about what that man had to say. And what it means to you, too, because you were there for the 50th anniversary, too, in Normandy.
Yeah. It's every time you come back here, it's just as breathtaking as the first. The scale of what happened here is just so mind-boggling. It's almost incomprehensible. And what those soldiers went through on that day, it's just, I find it almost unimaginable.
Yeah, and I think, thank you, Anthony. I think of the journalists, too, who were telling the story, the picture they painted, it made me so proud to hear the work that CBS did, and really the media back in that day, too.
And you forget with radio how important it was. The visual, you have to help people visualize what was going on.
So clear, so simple, so direct, with chaos all around them. It's fantastic work.
All right, Anthony, again, thank you very much.